how amazing humans are. Within an evolutionary blink of an eye, we became the undisputed rulers of Earth, painted the Sistine Chapel, developed cities and smartphones, reached outer space, sequenced the entire human genome, and developed a vaccine against COVID-19. These achievements were all enabled by our huge brains, 3 times larger than expected from a creature of our size. But how did our brains become so big? This is one of the most intriguing open questions in science. And could our increased intelligence underlie the plethora of neurological disorders that became so prevalent in modern societies? For example, 1 in 54 children in the US are diagnosed with autistic spectrum disorder, and 1 in 6 people in the US, over 75, develop Alzheimer's disease. How did we become so prone to autism and Alzheimer's? Can we find the factors that led to their abundance in present-day humans? Did all human groups with big brains develop neurological disorders? Were they all successful? Neanderthals, for example, had large brains just like us. Why did they disappear? And why did our ancestors survive? Could it be that we developed abstract language and they did not? Maybe, but nobody knows. Literally hundreds of research labs around the world are currently working on these questions. Here at the Hebrew University, we are establishing the Multidisciplinary Center for Ancient DNA to address these and many more questions.
Roughly 10 years ago, a revolution in science boosted our ability to sequence ancient DNA, creating entirely new opportunities to answer these questions from a novel, exciting, and unexpected angle. So how can ancient DNA help us? DNA not only stores the information required to build and operate our bodies, but also records our genetic past. DNA is a very stable molecule that can survive for surprisingly long periods. Would you believe that DNA has survived hundreds of thousands of years and still has been successfully sequenced? The field of ancient DNA begins with this newfound ability to obtain DNA from archaeological remains.
Hebrew University's Institute of Archaeology, Israel's first, with its century-long tradition of excellence, boasts over 100 excavation sites, including landmark projects such as Masada and Bet Alpha, as well as sites from which ancient DNA has been retrieved, such as Hatzor and Bet Ma'acha, shown here on the map. Today, Hebrew University researchers are active in dozens of sites, from the Negev to the Upper Galilee. Many of them are shown here in red on the map, unearthing early stone tools, palaces, temples, and synagogues, as well as burials, bones, and teeth. All these materials help us reconstruct our own past. For example, who lived here at the historical border city of Abel Bet Ma'acha, bridging Iron Age cultures some 3,000 years ago? And how do they relate to peoples living in the region today? The excavation process is a painstaking one. Here, at the site of Amud Cave in northern Israel, we excavated the 55,000-year-old skeleton of a Neanderthal infant. Unearthing this tiny skeleton took an entire month. Because of its young age at death, only 6 months, give or take, this partial skeleton provided indication that some very specific Neanderthal features, for example, in the mandible, did not form due to lifelong activity, but were determined by genetics. Such recovered bones serve as the basis for the entire process of ancient DNA analysis.
In the ancient DNA lab, the bone is first ground to powder. Then DNA is extracted using special chemicals and then sent to a sequencing machine. The DNA sequences are then analyzed and compared to DNA of modern humans and apes. This labor-intensive procedure is carried out by teams of geneticists, computational biologists, and molecular evolutionists, and it takes years. This process results in the ability to reconstruct our past and answer questions such as, how did we become what we are today? How did the illnesses of modern societies emerge? And what might this mean for preventing or even treating such illnesses? And can we actually de-extinct prehistoric beasts?
Well, it is not science fiction. Spectacular specimens have been successfully sequenced, like Yucca, this 33,000-year-old young male mammoth from Siberia, and like the 3,300-year-old Otzi, a natural mummy from the Alps. The ancient DNA revolution has led to mind-boggling discoveries. For example, as you might well know, we are all a little bit Neanderthal, carrying roughly 2% of the genome, attesting to ancient mixing between our ancestors. And the Hebrew University has already made major contributions to the field of ancient DNA. For example,
the Hebrew University led a project that sequenced ancient DNA from dozens of Canaanite individuals from Israel, Lebanon, and Jordan, showing that they arrived from the Caucasus, mixed with local populations, and then contributed to the genetics of all present-day populations in the region. Once a melting pot, always a melting pot.
Another example is the Hebrew University team that developed a pioneering tool that allows for inferring not only the genetics of individuals, but also how their genes worked. The team discovered hundreds of genes that worked differently in modern versus archaic humans, many of them related to brain development and to neurological diseases such as Alzheimer's disease, autism, and schizophrenia. Using this tool, the team was also able to answer a long-standing question of what is the shape of the Neanderthal voice box. The team showed that the anatomy of the Neanderthal voice box differed from that of modern humans. Could this be the first clue regarding the speech capabilities of archaic humans?
Another exciting example was selected by Science magazine among the top scientific breakthroughs of 2019. A mysterious type of big-brained human called Denisovan was discovered using ancient DNA. However, its physical remains are scarce, the biggest one to date being this jaw that you see here. A Hebrew University team, again using the tool that shows which genes work differently in the different humans, was able to offer to the world the first anatomical reconstruction of this elusive type of human. These examples show how collaborations among multiple and diverse disciplines lead to exciting scientific breakthroughs.
The Hebrew University Center for Ancient DNA will be a hub for synergetic work among leading researchers from many disciplines, such as archaeology, geology, chemistry, medicine, statistics, genetics, epigenetics, geography, history, and our national collections. The center positions the Hebrew University at the forefront of ancient DNA research and will strengthen its global impact. Thank you.